Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Ellen Hutson. Thank you for joining me today. Today I am going to show you how to assemble the brand new A2 envelope die from the Essentials by Ellen line. I think you're going to love creating your own custom envelopes for all of your card projects. I wanted to start by showing you the die set. And this die set has 3 dies included. And you can actually cut out all of the pieces that you need to create this envelope out of one 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. And the way that I do that is I take that large base piece and I kind of trim around it with my scissors. And then this little scrap piece is where I'm going to cut all of my flaps from. So I have my bottom and my side flap here, and I'm just kind of holding them in place onto the scrap of cardstock using some tape here, and I'm going to run those through the die cut machine. Now I'm also going to need a second side flap, and so I'm just repositioning that die on that same scrap and running that through my die cut machine again. And then I ran that main base piece through my die cut machine as well. And these are all the pieces that I have. So I have my main piece for my envelope, I have my bottom flap, and my 2 side flaps here. And these are all the pieces that I need to create an envelope. Now this die set will also create the score lines that you need on each of these pieces. So I'm just folding on the score lines and reinforcing those folds with my Teflon bone folder. Now, sometimes I find that these smaller flaps are kind of difficult to get started. So what I like to do in that case is kind of fold it in the wrong direction a little bit to start with, and then I can fold it over and really score that score line down. So you'll see me kind of just folding along that score line very carefully and then reinforcing everything with my bone folder. Now, these envelopes really do come together very quickly. I recommend using not the heaviest weight cardstock that you have. I find that Concord and Ninth cardstocks work better because they're not like 110 pound, but use a lighter weight cardstock or even a heavyweight pattern paper would work for this. And now that I have all of my folds reinforced, I'm just taking some strong double-sided adhesive and I'm placing it along those flaps that the score lines create. This happens to be 1/8 inch score tape and it tears very easily. So I like to use it for things like this because I know my envelope's going to be secure. Now those are the 3 areas that I need adhesive to begin with. And so once I have them on the flaps, I'm going to remove the backer from that adhesive and I'm going to line up this bottom flap along the bottom of my envelope base piece. So I have the tab folded over and I'm just lining up the score line or the fold line with the bottom of the base piece. So you're going to see I'm going to attach it there and it folds open and close very easily. Now I am taking the first side flap and I am keeping that tab folded in, and once again I'm lining up the fold line with the side of this envelope, and it kind of just nestles right in there. It's very easy to place. You can see my envelope is already coming together so quickly. Now I'm going to rotate this and do the same thing on the other side of the envelope. So I'm just folding that tab back. I have my adhesive exposed and I'm going to line up the fold line along the side of this envelope base piece. And that's going to give me kind of the assembled open envelope. And I think it would be really fun to kind of close this up with some twine instead of adhering it all together. But basically the last step is just to adhere that bottom flap to those 2 side flaps. And once again, I like to use this strong double-sided tape for it. So I'm just adding it along those slanted edges of the bottom flap. I'm removing the backer from both of those pieces of adhesive, and then I'm going to fold in my side flaps first, and then fold up my bottom flap, and that creates my envelope. Wasn't that super easy? And as you'll see in the picture, I had a great time creating these out of so many beautiful colors. And if you want to take your envelopes to the next level, you can grab the A2 envelope liner die. I die cut that out of some white cardstock and then just fold it along the crease line. And when I'm adding my liner to my envelope, I like to flip it over and I just add adhesive to that top kind of triangle part. Then I can just slide that into the envelope and I'll line up the liner with that top flap, press it into place, making sure that both of those score lines line up. And now I have a beautiful contrasting liner inside of my envelope. It's so fun to do these with metallic or stamped pieces as well. So to coordinate with my custom envelope, I thought I would create a postage theme card. And I'm going to do a little stamping with fun foam today. So I'm starting by just trimming down some scraps of fun foam. And I'm using the straight rectangle shaped dies from the brand new Postage die set from the Essentials by Ellen line. And I'm going to die cut this fun foam. Now I'm using the exact same die cutting sandwich that I always use. If you're having a hard time die cutting this fun foam, maybe add a cardstock shim, but I find that it cuts very easily. Now I've die cut the smaller postage edge piece from the Postage dies, and I'm placing that into the corner of my mini Misty, and I'm lining up the fun foam piece that I've just die cut with the coordinating rectangle right in the center of that postage piece. And I'm going to add some removable tape runner adhesive to the top of that. And that's going to hold it in place on the lid of my mini Misty so that I can stamp a solid area onto this postage stamp. Now what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to maintain the white border edge just like a postage stamp has. But I found that when I'm stamping with these fun foam pieces, it's helpful if I add a couple of cardstock shims behind it because the fun foam is not quite as thick as the clear stamps that we usually use. So I'm just inking up that fun foam piece with a little bit of Dress Blues ink from Catherine Pooler. And then I'm going to stamp that right onto the postage edge piece. And I realize that postage piece is kind of hard to see because it's white on white right now, but I'm going to press that down really well with my Pink Fresh Studio stamp press. Now I ended up smearing that ink on my clean white border, so I die cut another postage piece here. I'm inking up that fun foam again, and then I'm going to stamp on that. Now the cool thing about this fun foam pieces is you can just wipe them down with a baby wipe and you can use them over and over again. So what I'll do when I'm done stamping with this is I'll clean it up and I'll put it in with the postage dies that I used to die cut this fun foam piece. And then the next time that I want to create with it, it's ready for me. Now, in order to remove that removable adhesive from the lid of my Misty stamping tool, I'm just going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and either a microfiber cloth or a tissue, and it takes it right off. Now you can see I missed a little spot in that lower left-hand corner, so I'm just replacing that postage piece back into my Misty stamping tool, pressing in that spot again, and I have a beautiful solid kind of navy background, but I've preserved all of that white postage edge so that this really does look like a large piece of postage. Now, I want to do some heat embossing over the top of this. So I am making sure that this ink is really dry by using my heat tool. And then I am grabbing my Mondo Wildflower stamp. This is one of my most used stamps from the Essentials by Ellen line. I know that's kind of crazy. It came out several years ago and I absolutely love it. And I'm just positioning it over that postage piece. I'm prepping the surface using a powder tool, and then I'm going to ink up this Mondo Wildflower stamp using some Versamark ink and stamp right onto that. And I'm allowing it to hang off the edge of my postage piece. That doesn't bother me. I'll remove it from my Misty stamping tool, and then I'm going to add some super fine detail white embossing powder over that image and then heat set it with my heat tool. And yes, there is embossing powder on the white border of this postage piece, but that doesn't bother me at all. I was on Pinterest and I saw some vintage postage pieces, and one of them kind of inspired me to create this particular kind of layout here. So once that embossing powder has cooled, I'm going to use a microfiber cloth to remove all of the extra powder tool that I have on that piece. And then I grabbed the special delivery stamp. This is from the Sending Love stamp set, also part of the new June 2023 release from the Essentials by Ellen line. And I'm inking that up with some Catherine Pooler hot tub ink and just stamping that onto some white cardstock. And then I'm going to grab this little heart. It is from the new Snail Mail stamp set. And I am stamping that onto the same piece of white cardstock using some Catherine Pooler Do-Si-Do ink. And then I'm going to use the coordinating dies to die cut both of those images out. And I'm going to kind of stagger them on top of each other and then place that in the lower right-hand corner of this postage piece that I've created. And I'm popping that up using a little bit of foam adhesive and just pressing that into place. So this is going to serve as the main focal card front, but I wanted to kind of layer this up. And so I've die cut the larger postage piece from the Postage die set from the Essentials by Ellen line. And I'm going to stamp that using the Essentials by Ellen Skinny Stripe stamp. Now I'm using a sticky mat in my MISTI stamping tool so that I can keep this postage piece in the center of my MISTI and stamp on it and leave it in place. I'm allowing the stamp to kind of overlap the edges of this piece. And so in order to kind of keep that in place in the center of my MISTI stamping tool, I'm using that sticky mat. Now I used a light pink ink. This is Ballet Slipper from Concord and Ninth. And when I remove that piece from my sticky mat, I am going to fold and roll the mat away from the cardstock so that I'm not curling and bending my cardstock. Now I have mounted that stamped postage piece on top of the striped postage piece with some foam adhesive. And I'm going to take this entire thing and add it to an A2 top folding card using some tape runner adhesive. Now I have created another envelope, a navy envelope, and I wanted the liner of this envelope to kind of coordinate with my card. So I've die cut the liner from some white cardstock, and I'm placing that liner die cut into the center of my MISTI stamping tool using that MISTI sticky mat to hold it in place again. Then I'll ink up the Skinny Stripe stamp again and stamp it onto my liner, and that way the stripes on my liner coordinate with the stripes on my card. Then once again, I can just roll back my MISTI sticky mat to remove the cardstock from the mat. I'll fold along the score line of this liner piece, and then I'll just grab my tape runner adhesive. I'll add it to that top flap of the envelope liner and place it into my navy envelope. This one isn't all the way assembled, so you can either kind of line this up before you close up your envelope, or you can do it after you close up your envelope. It doesn't really matter, but you just want to make sure that the fold lines of your liner piece line up with the fold line of your envelope. Then I can close all this up and I have a beautiful coordinating envelope. You can see I've used that same Mondo Wildflower stamp and I've heat embossed that image on the envelope. So now I have a beautiful custom card and custom envelope that coordinates so nicely together. And I wanted to show you all of the beautiful, colorful envelopes that I created using this brand new A2 envelope die from the Essentials by Ellen line. Look at all these gorgeous colors. You can create a coordinating envelope for any A2 card you make. And you can see that here I have used that coordinating liner die to add some contrasting and metallic and pattern paper pieces to the inside of my envelope. It is such a fun surprise. That one I stamped with the Mondo Wildflower again. Some of these I've used the skinny stripes. Some of them I've used metallic cardstocks. This is the Modern Graphics 2 paper pack from the Essentials by Ellen. I think that these are just so much fun and they come together so quickly, and I love that you can die cut all of the pieces that you need from a single sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. Now, I have loved stationery for as long as I can remember. I remember getting box stationery sets as a kid and just loving to write little notes and things like that. And these custom envelopes really do take your card projects up a level. And they really do give that custom stationery vibe. You can coordinate the color of the envelope with your card. You can coordinate the liner with some elements from your card. I am absolutely in love, and I think you're going to be too. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.